when they are praised or when they experience good fortune, then how to not get angry about that. Those two things.
One question.
Sure.
For me, there's a little bit of confusion with respect to can you cultivate the joy of someone you dislike?
Yeah.
And the person's happiness, the other person's happiness is coming from doing something negative.
Yeah.
So does it go in direction of rejoicing in the negative action of others?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so just to rephrase Wandu's question, when someone else does something very negative, like say you know someone who's a thief, like for example, and then they steal, or even maybe a coworker, they cheat, the company working for, they misreport their hours and misreport expenses, and so they steal a bunch of money from the company, and they feel very happy about it. Right? So then, if you think, oh well, at least it's good they're happy. Does that go in the direction of then rejoicing in a non-virtuous action of stealing?
But they may be underpaid, and so you might feel that.
But imagine they're not underpaid. Imagine they're already overpaid. They're already overpaid, and they already get too much compensation, and then but they're still unsatisfied. No? So then they just use some opportunity to steal. From the company or even from some other employees or something like that. And they don't see anything wrong with it, even though clearly it's wrong. And they don't see anything wrong with it, and they just feel very elated that they've gotten away with this, stealing a bunch of money or something. So then, one way of reading Shantideva, it could be like, we're supposed to think, oh, well, at least they're happy, But it seems like something that doesn't settle right. No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem right to just think that. It doesn't seem right. So and the question is, well, because we know if we rejoice in the non-virtuous actions of others, then you create negative karma. It's like you create a share of the karma of that non-virtuous action.
I think we are not supposed to look at it as happiness for those people. It's a pleasure they are getting, but it's not really happiness for them.
No, I think he refers to mundane happiness. That means even any kind of happiness.
That what?
You should rejoice even if people are having even any kind of happiness.
Yeah, but then does it go in the? But then does it become rejoicing in non-virtuous action? Can it become like that in this kind of scenario? How do you prevent from rejoicing?
I can see their feeling happy is also a result of their positive karma in the past.
That's true. Yeah, they're being able to experience pleasure and happiness.
Experience pleasure. So it's not just that they did something bad that makes them feel happy. It's a result of their past.
So you think it seems like you want to divide it up more subtly too. You can rejoice in their mere experience of pleasure and happiness, but then still
De-associate the cause.
Separate the cause of the happiness?
Yeah, separate the experience of happiness from the cause of the happiness, which in this case is a non-virtuous action. So still disapprove of and not rejoice in, and what do you say? I don't know, what do you say? What do you do to...
Not rejoice in action.
You reject or you disapprove of, or I don't know. How do you react to the disregard? I don't know, not just disregard, but it's like more like against. In your mind, you're against the negative action that they did, the stealing.
So you have to express your dissatisfaction about the action.
Yeah.
But be happy that...
Yeah, like you say, oh, I'm glad you're happy, but you really shouldn't steal. Basically like that, no?
But sometimes you're helpless also, but still. I had a very nice class, and the only person who gets access to the house, and I'm not there, is my cook. So I know she helped us actually. But I am helpless, I can't tell her. But she leaves, and it's very difficult to get people.
Right.
I'm dependent on her.
Right.
So I may be angry and upset or whatever, but I cannot express it and say, it's a dishonest thing. You can't,
You have to overlook.
Right.
There's kind of pilferage in the house, you have to overlook all that.
Yeah,
Well,
but
no,
that's
you
quite
look
different.
at it
right?
as charity from your side. Maybe you're doing it.
Yeah, you can, just a bonus. It's like charity. Yeah, but that's quite different. That's a little different.
No, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Also at Christmas.
Was happy from the theft.
Yeah, so you can disapprove of the theft and think that's wrong, but I'm glad they had some happiness from it as a result of
At
it.
the same time, we say, hope you have the causes and conditions for happiness. So if the causes and conditions are the theft and that you're happy out of that, then is that a good cause and condition?
What? I didn't get that.
We pray for causes and conditions for happiness.
Yeah, for long-term, kind of stable, lasting
Yeah, but
happiness.
that's exactly what I'm asking.
Right.
Is the short-term pleasure, the short-term, being pleased, I stole something and I'm happy. It's not happy. That's just, I'm just thrilled about something. I'm just pleased about something. And in the back of my mind, I'm pleased about having done something wrong and gotten away with it.
Yeah.
So is that happiness?
Well, that's the big question. How do we define happiness?
Yes,
It's a
so
totally subjective thing. Like, how are you going to define
that
happiness?
just because you're pleased about something, that it's happiness at all.
Well, generally, when we're
Sometimes an evil pleasure about it.
generally when we talk about happiness, we're talking about just the feeling. There's three kinds of feelings, right? Suffering, suffering feeling, neutral feelings, and pleasant feelings, right?
Yeah.
So generally, when we talk about happiness, we mean, and then there's physical and mental feelings, right? So when we talk about happiness, we're talking about generally any physical or mental feeling of pleasure,
So
right?
like eating an ice cream or
Yeah, the pleasure you experience is a kind of happiness. Yeah, and I think usually when we talk about happiness here, there's a whole range from the most mundane to the most, sublime, right? And everything in between. But it's true, we want to focus on, when we think may all beings have happiness, it doesn't mean just like may they all have everything they want and all these mundane pleasures. We want to focus on the more sublime, long-lasting, because in the long term that's what's beneficial, right? That's part of our problem, is that we always, habitually, we look for the very short-term, limited kind of happiness, and then don't put in the effort and bear the hardship that's required to achieve long-term happiness. We don't even think about it, right? So that's part of practicing the path, is giving up and being less concerned about, giving up concern about the short-term pleasure and looking more for long-term happiness for ourselves and for others, right? So definitely that's where we want our focus to be.
But in one of these verses that we just read, 73, when we say that looking for instant gratification, maybe not 73, 74. Looking for instant gratification. I'm paraphrasing it.
Sure.
And actually I'm getting myself deeper into trouble, and so that's not right. And if I'm saying that for myself, then the same applies to the other person. He's also looking for instant gratification, and he's doing something completely wrong towards it. So why should then I say that, no, it's, as long as he's happy, it's okay, I'm not going to get angry.
Yeah.
Because then you're using different yardsticks for yourself and for the next person.
True, that's a very good point.
As long as they are not harming themselves or others.
But that's what she's saying, there are harming. That's what Shantideva is saying. But for countless past lives, in order to achieve just short-term well-being, in order to just follow in my attachment for the pleasures of this life, basically, then I've justified getting angry and harming others, then creating negative karma, then they rebirth in hell, and then experience that again and again and again without any long-term benefit, right?
And
so
I've decided not to do that because I've seen the harm in it, but it's okay for somebody else to do that.
Yeah. That definitely shouldn't be our attitude, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So then when we see other people, kind of out of it, basically just blindly following attachment, and then getting what they want. I think, But we're seeing that feeding into a destructive cycle. In a gross example, it's like, an addict, someone who's addicted to drugs or alcohol. Then every time they're able to get a drink and they, get drunk and feel happy because they got drunk, should we feel happy about that?
Exactly.
Because it's just feeding into perpetuating a destructive cycle, right? So definitely not. I mean, we should definitely wish that they are free from that destructive cycle. But
not get angry.
But here, I mean, Shantideva's, yeah, exactly. Not get angry about them getting what they want. I mean, that's the main thing Shantideva is addressing is this problem of we have an enemy and they get what they want and we get angry about it, right? So he's trying to give us ways to think that we don't fall into getting angry about that, right? Because the whole chapter is the patience chapter, right? So he's talking about all different instances where we might get angry or we do get angry, and how to think in a different way so that we don't get angry in that circumstance.
That part I think becomes
I think many times
logical.
we...
That's
What?
not being angry when your people you dislike are happy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
The rejoicing part is a bit...
Yeah, we have to. I mean, like if someone's like addicted to drugs or alcohol, every time they get, you know, they follow their attachment and then get their whatever, the drugs or alcohol, we shouldn't rejoice in that because that'd be like rejoicing in something that's destructive for them. So if we really care about them, of course we wouldn't want them to have that. So, yeah. So I think that's different. But if we get angry at them, it's not doing anything to benefit us. It's not doing anything to benefit them. Rather, it's causing harm to both of us. So I think the important thing is to see that, to not get angry about. You know, people we don't like getting what they want, even though it's not good for them. I mean, sorry, people that we don't like getting what they do want, right? So the important thing is not to get angry about it. But that's what we tend to do. You know?
I think it is also referring to the fact that many times we don't have influence with those people, especially if we regard them as enemies. And in that situation, we are unable to benefit them.
Yeah.
And in the process, we are harming ourselves by getting angry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. So then, what's the antidote?
So do not be angry.
Yeah.
And whatever, generate compassion.
Yeah. And maybe kind of have some sympathy for some sympathy, some understanding that, okay, if they have a little bit of temporary pleasure, that alone is good. It's okay. You know, it's not a bad thing.
Like she says, it is a result of their past.
Yeah, like Shanti said, it's a result of their positive karma. But if it's part of a larger destructive kind of pattern, then that needs to be addressed without, you know, that needs to be kind of resolved or stopped. Right?
Venerable Leader, he goes one step further. It makes a lot of sense to not be angry. There's no need to be angry at a misdeed of somebody, right? You can always correct it without the anger element. But he's going a step further. He says, why don't you also praise them so that you can be happy? That's the part I don't understand.
I think it's because they also have some good qualities, they also have good things that we can be really happy about.
Yeah, I think
we're not talking about their good qualities at the moment. We're talking about them being happy about something that they've done wrong. You know.
It's not necessary something.
Well, we're talking about other people praising them. Which verse? We're talking which verse?
Well, it's in 76, but it's a continuation right through.
Yeah, should someone else find joyous happiness in praising my enemy as an excellent person, why mind do you not praise them too, and likewise make yourself happy?
Yeah, so then it doesn't just stop at not being angry. It goes on to say that make yourself happy by praising them for doing whatever it is they're doing.
Well, that it doesn't say. It doesn't say for doing whatever they're doing. I mean,
that's the logic of it.
But that's totally illogical. That's what we discussed earlier.
Bad or all good. There's some good in everyone.
When we discussed this verse, wait. When we discussed this verse earlier, Alden, we kind of came to the conclusion that we have to we can find something positive to praise them for. Because it doesn't make sense to praise people and we can't sincerely do it, right? Praise people for doing things that they're happy about doing, but we think are totally wrong and immoral, right? That doesn't make any sense. But what does make sense is to find something positive about a person. Remember I gave the example of Trump, no?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You did.
That you can find something positive
when you go further down,
to praise them and then kind of rejoice in that, right? But again, the thing is to have more balanced attitude, because generally the mind of anger, we see, okay, other people, we see, okay, this person is doing things that are totally immoral or wrong. Other people praise them, and then we get angry. So we already dislike the person. Then other people praise them, then we more dislike. We get angry about it, right? So
that can be avoided.
and then we blanket everything they do, everything they are, everything that whole group represents is just bad, right? So then we create this huge division, which is very destructive, right? So to resolve that, try to find something positive, about what they're doing, and then rejoice in that. Then we feel happy, and we create some basis for connecting with that person and with that whole group, right? So that's why at the last line of verse 77, and a supreme means for assembling others, says, right? We need to bring, in order to benefit beings, we need to have some basis for connecting with them, some common ground we need to find. So to find common ground, we can't afford just to blanketly disapprove of and dislike an individual or group of people. We have to find something positive.
That's true.
I think that's the main takeaway there. Yeah. But I agree, it's easy to fall into thinking like, oh, this means whatever anyone does, I just have to rejoice in it. That doesn't make sense.
So, to me also, during the recitation of the 4 immeasurables, when we say that others be happy and never be separate from the cause of happiness, I always get this confusion whether are we talking about the mundane happiness or the sublime happiness. Because mundane happiness is also suffering of change. And then we are kind of wishing others have suffering of change. Which is to the second line that others not have suffering.
Well, hold on. In the 4 measurables, there's two different verses related to happiness. One is, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So there, the suffering of change comes. Yeah.
And then we also say that, next line we say that others not have suffering. Then
Hold on. But then the other verse related to happiness is where we say, may others have happiness that is totally, may others never be separated from the happiness that is totally without suffering. So that's talking about liberation and enlightenment, for sure, that verse. Because those are two kinds of happiness that once you achieve them, you're never separated from them. Right? Liberation and enlightenment, because you never fall back from liberation, you never fall back from enlightenment. So that's talking about that. But so your doubt about, well, are we wishing people to have actually the suffering of change? That comes in the first one, the immeasurable love. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. Yeah, we are wishing for, because we need the suffering of change, actually. I mean, because we need temporary happiness in order to practice the path. It's like we need to have, even like a rebirth as a human being, precious human rebirth. If in our next, like when we die from this life, if we take rebirth as an animal, like what are we going to do next life? We're not going to make any progress on the path. So we need to take rebirth as a human being again, but take rebirth as a human itself is like, any pleasure that comes with that is suffering of change, because it doesn't last, it changes into discovery. So it's okay to pray for people to have that, because that can lead to progress, right? It can be a basis for further progress. Yes, Celeste?
Somebody is doing something destructive, like having drugs, and that gives them some temporary high and happiness. I don't think we need to feel that they are doing some wickedness because of the drugs they are taking. That could become a habit for them. I don't know whether happiness comes in here in the sense that it's some kind of an illusory happiness, which is induced because of that drug.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, but there's a whole range of happiness, from like very illusory happiness, which I think we're considering as a kind of happiness, to very stable, lasting satisfaction, which is much better kind of happiness.
Escapism also.
Yeah, escapism can be there. Yeah.
I think if you think of it as like on the basis of Maslow's hierarchy, like people need to have food and no shelter and these set of things to start even thinking about dharma or anything else, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at it like that, then mundane happiness is required for people to progress on the spiritual path.
True, yeah. Food, shelter, health, have some good health.
So it's okay to wish people that, because there are so many people who don't have that.
True, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's true. I mean, if people are addicted to drugs or alcohol or whatever, yeah, I mean, the main thing is we want them to be able to find a source of happiness that isn't destructive like that, doesn't require, I mean, doesn't lead to all the problems that those things lead into. Right? That's the more important thing. Shall we do a little meditation now? So, I mean, the main way to meditate, we want to, when we're studying like a text like this, we want to learn how to use it in our own practice, right? Like a text like this, it's not like a novel that you just read from beginning to end, kind of. It's a lot of very kind of pithy, kind of difficult spiritual advice. So, I mean, the way to use a text like this is to read it, think about it, talk about it with others, receive explanation on it, and then use it in your meditation, right? So in your own meditation practice, read a couple verses and then think about it. So let's just practice like that now. I think instead of me like telling you, well, think about this, think about this, think about this. Just, we've just talked through verse 72 to 83, right? So use any of those verses. Keep the book open on the table in front of you, and then any of the verses that you feel like thinking about more, just read those over and then think about them in your own way, right? That's kind of what we need to learn to do in terms of meditation, right? So, like that. I mean, the setup is always the same, right? Get comfortable in your meditation posture, generate a positive motivation. Think about for how long, the duration of your meditation session, for how long you're going to meditate. And then watch your breath, or your mind or something for a while. Generate some focus or concentration for a couple of minutes. And then, and then to do the analytical meditation, which is the main part of the session, look at, you can either look at Lamrim outlines, or you have memorized verses, or, in this case, just take a book that has something you want to meditate on and put it in front of you. And read a verse or two and then just think about it. Okay? So let's just practice like that. We'll take, let's say, 20 minutes. We can do 20 minutes of meditation. So first get comfortable in your meditation posture, and then regenerate your motivation, and then, do some analytical meditation. Okay, so I won't say anything else for 20 minutes. for your attention there. So we'll pick up from verse 84 next session. I don't know what it is, I'm not sure. So let's dedicate the merit with the dedication prayer on page 263. In the prayer book, page 263. The final Lama dedication prayer by Lama Sakara. So first, think of all the merit we've created together here this morning, and rejoice in your own virtuous attitudes and those of others and actions. And then think of all the virtuous activities done by yourself in this life and previous lives, and also by others who are equal to yourself, have equal level of realization, other sentient beings. Think of all the positive things they do and rejoice. Think how wonderful, how good it is. And then think of all the virtuous activities of our own spiritual teachers and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, of all holy beings, in the past, the present, the future. Rejoice. So think of all this merit and collected together, great ocean of merit. And we dedicate, in short, may all sentient beings be free from every form of suffering of body and mind, and have every happiness, up to develop all the realizations of the path of enlightenment, from perfect Guru devotion up to full enlightenment. Especially may this Dharma Center, Choe, Ling, continue to flourish and offer access to the Buddha's teachings to countless sentient beings, and continue to fulfill the wishes of our spiritual guide, Geshe, and the Holiness the Dalai Lama, and to serve sentient beings in Bangalore and other places throughout India and the world. And especially may the center, anyone who sees, hears, thinks about, supports in any way, volunteers for, or is connected to the center anyway, even if they harm, criticize, abuse, through that, and may they always be free from every form of suffering and every happiness. And especially may the center be able to find its own premises, a building that they can own, that has attached apartments and a larger prayer hall and kitchen and library and office and so forth. And also be able to build a 3-story high Maitreya statue in Bangalore very soon. And may all the other activities and works of the center succeed, especially the upcoming conference in January may be a great success. And then may all may our gurus, Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa, and all the Geshe and others, may they all have long and stable lives and show the aspect of being completely free from any obstacles to their long life and health and their spiritual activities. So then we dedicate this prayer, the Lama dedication prayer. From my 2 collections, vast as space, that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path as I have discerned them, may I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion. In whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or one spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all humans and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Then we'll recite the long life prayer, which Holiness the Dalai Lama on page 273. Page 273. There's this photocopy paper. We'll read this one and then the prayer on page 274. Those are two long life prayers for Holiness the Dalai Lama. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Legtsok, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior, and then on 274, Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in hand, Lord Tenzin Legtsok, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. And then the long life prayer for Venerable Geshe on page 279. You who uphold the subduers immoral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading God's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers, honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. And then, is there anything else? Oh, that's it. Okay, let's stop there.